Many in Ireland feel neglected and frustrated with the government's handling of immigration, believing that the focus is shifting away from the needs of the Irish people.
We're afraid we're going to be labelled as racist and that we don't like people from different places. But that's not the case. With the fact of the matter is, the facilities we have right now at the minute don't facilitate anybody that's already living here.
This sentiment reflects a growing belief that the government is prioritising the welfare of migrants over its own citizens, particularly the homeless and vulnerable native population. Since Brexit, the UK has seen an influx of asylum seekers, many of whom have redirected to Ireland. This has resulted in a 94% increase in asylum seekers, adding immense pressure to Ireland's already strained resources. Irish citizens are particularly frustrated by the fact that many migrants are crossing from EU-based countries, where they could have sought refuge first. It appears to many that these migrants are not just fleeing danger, but are attracted to the better living standards and support systems offered by Ireland. We won't accept any asylum returns from the EU via Ireland until the EU agrees to take them back to France, said one government official, highlighting the growing frustration with the current system. The surge in immigrants, many of whom come from Pakistan, Somalia, Bangladesh, and Nigeria, is pushing Ireland's capacity to its limit. In response, public protests, riots, and even arson attacks on asylum seeker accommodations have become more common, not only in Dublin, but also in smaller towns.
We're just fed up with the Irish government. We're just fed up with them. It's like a mass plantation what they're doing here. There's so many unvetted male people being brought over to this country.
Locals are increasingly resentful, feeling that their neighbourhoods are changing beyond recognition and that job opportunities are dwindling.
I am a concerned father. I have 3 children. I have 2 daughters and I have a son, 11, 9 and 7. That's why I'm here. Listen, the mainstream media don't report on what goes on really in these areas. There's kids being abducted, there's kids being assaulted, there's kids being raped, there's women being raped, and the mainstream media will not report on it.
This fear of unvetted immigrants has fueled growing unrest, with many questioning whether the government is truly acting in the best interest of its people. Additionally, the rise in immigration is seen as exacerbating the housing crisis. Rents have soared, making it nearly impossible for young Irish families to find affordable housing. Meanwhile, asylum seekers are being provided with accommodations, sparking further resentment.
You come in here off a plane with no passport, you're safe. It's just not right, so there.
The disparity between how migrants and long-term Irish citizens are treated has led to protests across the country, with people demanding stricter immigration controls and more support for the Irish homeless population. Ireland's lenient immigration policies in the past made it an attractive destination. But now, with resources strained, the government is reconsidering its approach. Plans to cut social benefits for immigrants, including limiting access to housing, healthcare, and other welfare services, are being proposed. The goal is to ease the financial burden on Ireland's welfare system and make the country less attractive to those who do not contribute to the economy. Despite these efforts, many feel it may be too late. The government has made a mess of it, said one commentator, referring to the combination of derelict properties, overpriced housing, and inadequate social housing projects. As a result, there's a growing culture war between refugees and homeless Irish people, with both groups competing for limited resources. Even efforts to house asylum seekers in temporary accommodations, like modular homes, have been met with criticism as they fail to address the deeper issue of housing supply. Meanwhile, some of the asylum seekers themselves are struggling with the conditions they face in Ireland. One refugee from Jordan, speaking through an interpreter, described the harsh conditions, saying, "There were no services at all, no toilets, no showers. It was raining on us, and it was very cold." The government eventually moved some of these individuals from tents to alternative accommodations, but the situation has sparked outrage from opposition members of parliament, who accuse the government of creating a divide between asylum seekers and Irish citizens. Efforts are being made to streamline the asylum application process and introduce stricter deportation laws to ensure that individuals who do not qualify for asylum are quickly removed. The hope is that this will deter fraudulent claims and send a message that Ireland will not tolerate misuse of its asylum system. However, many Irish citizens feel these measures are not enough, with one resident summing up the general sentiment.
Just messing around with our heads, this whole government, and I don't trust what's going on. I think they're puppets for other powers, the elites, you know.
The housing crisis is another major issue that has only worsened with mass immigration. Thousands of Irish citizens remain homeless, while migrants are provided with immediate support upon arrival. Many of the long-term homeless have been on housing lists for years, yet new arrivals seem to bypass these challenges. This ongoing disparity has led to a growing sense of neglect among the native population. As tensions continue to rise, Ireland finds itself at a crossroads. The government must decide whether to continue its humanitarian approach to immigration or take a firmer stance to protect its native population. The growing unrest among Irish citizens suggests that patience is wearing thin. The question remains, will the government heed the calls for stricter immigration controls before it's too late?